Hey everybody, Regina Andler here, and it is time for Coffee with Regina. And I have once again my good friend Velma Gallant with me, and I am so excited to have you on the show today. So first, thank you and welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Our conversations are always amazing, always.
Oh, I absolutely love them. And so, for anybody who has not heard Velma before, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Velma. So, Velma is the founder and heart-set advisor of Compass Interconnect. She helps professional women create more boldly joyful lives. How cool is that? With her Heart Compass method, guaranteed. After experiencing teen trauma, 2 divorces, career changes, and more, Velma is living her boldly joyful life in southern Alberta, Canada, where I'm guessing it's really super cold, and she's loving every second of it. So, what? First off, it's really super cold where you are, right?
You know what? It's actually a little bit better than it was. It was minus 29 Fahrenheit last weekend. It was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. So I'm going to say we're probably around like minus 6 Fahrenheit now. So I'm Celsius, so I'm converting on the fly here. So I don't know if I'm accurate.
That is incredibly chilly, and even way
Yes.
more than me here in New Hampshire, which is pretty cold right now. And I know we get our air comes down from you guys, so that's scary. So let's get into this. So every time I hear you say heart compass, I'm like, what is heart compass method?
Mm.
Tell us a little bit about heart compass method.
So the Heart Compass method it's basically the culmination of the growth and learning that I've had over the last 57 years. Well, probably more like about 45, but we'll talk about that later. So it's been my growth and healing through both of the divorces, through relationships after the divorces, through raising my son, through the teen trauma, all of that. And what I learned through that, and I'll kind of go through the compass with you, is at the center of everything is self. So at the center of the compass is self, and it is the middle of everything. You are the center of your world. It's really okay to feel that way. You are the center of your world. And so when it comes to self, it's really important to get to know yourself, understand yourself, and accept and love yourself. And how we do that is with the points of the compass. And so you can layer this over any area of your life and it will make a difference. So the first point of the compass is stories. It's the stories we tell ourselves. So, as you know, we can either tell ourselves good stories or bad stories. And so we learn how to tell better stories. We learn to understand the stories that we have and how we can transform them. And then the second point of the compass is trust. And that one's really important because it is not about trusting others. I'm going to say that again. It is not about trusting others. It's about trusting yourself. You've
Mm.
always been able to trust yourself. You've talked yourself out of it. And so it's rebuilding that trusting relationship with yourself. And of course, that comes with knowing yourself, loving yourself, accepting yourself, and being able to get to that place again where you do trust yourself. And then the third point of the compass is boundaries. And I really love this one because what I've learned is that it is less about boundaries for others and it's more about boundaries for myself. When I honor my boundaries, no one can step over them. The only way they can is if I'm the one that lowered them. So I'm the one that needs to honor my boundaries. I'm the one that establishes them. I'm the one that keeps them. I'm the keeper. Again, that comes back to knowing yourself. That's why that's the center of everything. And then the last one is belonging. And if you've ever heard Brene Brown talk, you know this one's really important. When we don't belong to others, When you're trying to belong to someone else, you're trying to fit in, and you're actually not honoring who you are. You belong to you first, foremost, and always. And that's, again, why it's really important to get back to that center of self, knowing yourself, loving yourself, accepting yourself, understanding yourself. And so that's like a super sort of quick version of what the compass is about. And again, you can layer that over everything. You can layer it over your relationships, your career, your spirituality, your physical well-being, layered over everything. And you'll be able to navigate it by understanding the stories you tell, trusting yourself, honoring your boundaries, and making sure that it's you that you belong to.
I absolutely, that is such a life compass for everybody. And you started it. We're gonna hit those points. You started it by saying something kind of profound that a lot of people don't really understand, and that is, it's okay to take care of you. It's okay to feel and to put yourself first. And a lot of people have a problem with that. Why do you think that is?
I believe it's been trained into us. So when you're running around as a little toddler, you are the center of your world, without a doubt. And you're learning about the world that's outside of you. And even as you grow older and you get into your teen years, you're still the center of your world. And we get that trained out of us. You know, it'll be things like sharing, right? And I'm not saying sharing is bad. It isn't bad, because when we care for ourselves and we have ourselves well cared for, we do share ourselves. Where that sometimes gets misunderstood is that I have to share for at the sacrifice of myself. And that's when it turns into something else. And that's when, again, I get into those stories, because that's the story we told ourselves about what we were being taught. That's the story that was told to us as we were learning and growing. So it's understanding some of those stories. You know, when a parent teaches us to share, they're not necessarily teaching us to do it at the sacrifice of ourselves. However, that's kind of how we can interpret it, right? So that's just a little brief example of that. And then again, especially as women, part of who we are is we are caregivers, we are nurturers. Even if you don't choose to be a parent, you'll probably notice that about yourself, that you still do care and nurture others. You do it with others in different ways. However, I believe it's part of our makeup is that we are that caring, circular kind of experience in this world. And so when it comes to that kind of thing, we can tell the story that in order to nurture others, I need to put them first. They're important, and they are important. And so therefore I put them first, because I'm a nurturer, I'm a caregiver, I'm a lover, I'm all of these things. And so we'll end up putting them first. What gets misunderstood is that if I don't put myself first, then my well empties and I don't have enough to care for them. And I don't do as good of a job of caring for them as I could if I was making sure I was well cared for.
And you say that, and yet so many people end up at that burnout of they give, and don't stop. And I really liked what you said. It's okay to feel. You know, it's okay to feel for yourself. It's okay to take that time for yourself. And do you think something that just came to me was, you know, we all have these stories in our head that we create,
Mm-hmm.
and we, like you said, as a toddler, even as an adolescent, you know, the world revolves around us. You know, it's all about us. And at some point, we start creating these stories that it's not supposed to be that way. I have to go and do this and take care of everybody else. And at some point it shifts and we kind
Mhm.
of rewrite our story in a way that's not necessarily serving us. There's different life circumstances. Where do you think that comes from? And what is what, if you had to give somebody a tip on how do you just stop and start reversing that? What do you tell people?
So the first thing to understand is those first stories were made by a young person's mind who doesn't have a lot of life experience.
Mm.
So, when my mother corrects me, my mother's feelings might be something like, I know you're capable of more, so I'm going to correct you so that you learn, because I know you're capable of more. And yet that little child, it might be, well, mom corrects me because I'm not good enough. Sometimes that's the source of that I'm not good enough belief that we end up accumulating. And then, of course, we go on fact-finding missions because we do that to prove that I'm not good enough. And so that story gets reinforced and reinforced and reinforced. And so when you're playing with this, one of the things that I like to play is a game where I make up more stories. I make up more stories about it. So, like I just shared with you that, because my mom did correct me, and I did have the I'm not good enough belief, and I'm not enough, and all of those kinds of things that can come out of that story. Well, I've already made up one story that, well, maybe my mom felt that I was capable of more, and she wanted to teach me more. So she was giving me more because she felt I was capable of it. So that's another story for the same experience. So you can go and you can make up a whole bunch of other stories for that, right? Depending on your experience, it could be, well, maybe that's the way my mom was trained. So she felt she was training me in the right way, right? So you can take that and you can make up a whole bunch of other stories. And it can be a journaling exercise, right? So you can take that and do it in a journaling exercise. It can be an audio exercise, right? You can tell yourself these things and get goofy with it. Like, you can make up really stupid stories. Like, go ahead and make up really stupid stories. And the reason I invite you to play with the stupid stories is because if I'm having fun with it, then I'm not locked into, well, I got to find the right story, right? So it creates an opening where some more plausible stories can come in because I'm playing and having fun with it. I'm not overthinking it.
Yeah, and when
So
you're having fun, you're releasing all of those feel-good chemicals, and your body, your mind, everything is going, oh, I like this better.
well, and it opens me up, right? It opens me up to be curious about what else is possible, right? And that's where bringing a little bit of fun into it does help out. And as you're listing all of these new stories, you can be, well, does that make sense? Some of the goofy ones, you're going to know, but that's a really good story, right? And then you'll get onto other ones and it'll be, like, maybe my mom did feel that I was capable of more. Maybe my mom was projecting her own beliefs on me. Maybe my mom was taught that that's how you train children. Maybe my mom was doing the best she could because, again, that's how she learned, right? That's what she learned. And maybe she didn't have a lot of training on how to raise kids. So she was doing the best she could and was making up ideas as she was going, right? And so in each one of these things, there's a certain amount of plausibility to it. And what you end up learning is your original story could be a truth, but there's a lot of other possible truths. So it's not necessarily the truth, right?
Got
So
it.
that's where you get to play with the stories.
Yeah, and it's reframing. It's reframing the story into different things, And it was actually funny. I don't know if you've seen the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's kind of a
Yeah.
freaky movie. It came out a couple of years ago, and it's really freaky, but it's about all these different universes, and you're in every single universe, and you're different in every single one of them. One of them you might be, somebody who is scared and afraid, and the other one you're the superhero. So that's what it's the possibilities of all these different things that you can be just here and now. And it just brought it all together for me right there with the, be open-minded. Don't allow yourself to be stuck thinking that this is all there is, because it's not. There's
Well, I
so much
mean,
more.
if you think about it, if I had interpreted that my mom felt I was capable of more, and that's how my little brain interpreted it. Oh, my mom thinks I'm capable of more. I'm going to try some more. Would I have had that belief I'm not good enough if that's the story I had made up then? And how would I have gone on a fact-finding mission for I'm capable?
Yeah.
My mom thinks I'm capable. Maybe somebody else thinks I'm capable, right? And just started, how would I be today if that's how I would have interpreted it? And we actually get that opportunity to recreate ourselves through that. So in the work that I do facilitate those conversations around what else could that mean? And understanding, helping them to connect to those original stories, facilitate new stories, and transform that belief. So that is part of the work that I do. And that's why stories is such an integral, I got to stop putting my hand in front of my face. It's such an integral part of the Heart Compass. It's a really important part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's funny because you're having this conversation, you know how memories come back and you start thinking about things. So you said something about, self-care is not selfish, as Kathy said. So Kathy is watching, and she put self-care is not selfish. And when I was a teenager, little side story, there was a guy I was going out with. He was a really nice guy, and we ended fine. It was one of those relationships that was, unbeknownst to me, was life shaping. And the reason is he wrote me something once, which I still have. And he started it off with, I can't be your best friend because you have to be your best friend. I just hope that I could be your second best friend. And at the time, I was like, oh, that's cute. It took me years to go, oh, now I get actually what he meant. And he was 17 at the time. So the power that he was 17 and actually got that, it took me years to go, wow, he's right. I need to be my own best friend first. And then I can reach out to others.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, that's where that self-care is not selfish is so important. It's actually, self-care is self-love. And again, that's where leading self is so important. Some of the, going through a divorce with a teen, and it's a high conflict divorce, that was the most powerful leadership training experience I have ever had in my life, because teenagers don't listen. He's the center of his own world, right? And I remember, because, I shared with you that I had teen trauma. So there's more to it. I was being a teen in divorce, and there was a whole lot of stuff going on then. So I remembered those feelings. So I'm pulling in from my history and being present with him and allowing him to have his experience. So the only way that I knew was to lead by showing him, lead by experience, lead myself, so that he could hopefully interpret that, because he's going to be making up his own stories. So again, lead myself so that he sees me leading myself and he learns from that. And it worked. My son is 22 years old and has awarenesses that I never had at his age, simply because I took care of myself and I let him see me do it.
That is powerful. That is massively powerful. And we think about that because as we grow up with our parents, completely different generation.
Mhm.
And then as we grow and become and learn and understand more about what we're talking about here, now that is now the what we're showing, the younger generation or your kids or whatever, as they form and they're kind of, leapfrogging above us with their understanding of how things work. So, it's a very powerful way to, help
Oh, yeah.
increase awareness overall for everybody everywhere.
Absolutely, without a doubt. Now, these experiences that I have as a parent, I don't believe are exclusive to parents. I believe they're a very important part of being a parent, but I don't feel that they're exclusive to it. I don't remember where I heard this, and I wish I could remember so I could give credit where it belongs. A parent's ceiling becomes their child's floor.
Mm,
And so that's exactly what happened. My son at 22 is making powerful awarenesses that, had I had those awarenesses at 22, I would have never got married the first time. I got married the first time when I was 22.
mhm.
So my ceiling became his floor, and he can only go up from there. And I do believe that that same experience happens when we move into mentorship experiences, whether it be with a young person or even someone our own age or even someone older than us, that
Yeah.
we get that opportunity to learn from others when they share who they are and they care for who they are.
I love that. That is a great segue too into one of the tools that you use that I know that you do. It's called the Y operating system. Tell us, I mean, we always talk about know your why. Why are you doing what you do?
Mhm.
What is the Y operating system? Why is it so important to know your why?
So first want to preface this with, this is a little bit different than what a lot of why conversations are about, right? So as I've built businesses over the years, I've had that conversation of, why do I do this? When I built my first business, it was for my family. Family was everything to me. It was so important to me. So this is a little bit of a different conversation than that. Those are valuable and important conversations. This is just a little bit different than that. And so when I'm playing with the Y operating system with my clients, we are looking at why you do things the way you do them.
Mm,
And so, especially in January here, as we're having this conversation around, in goals, resolutions, intentions, things like that. Those are really great conversations. So, how I process this is, my Y operating system gives birth to my intentions.
hmm.
My intentions give birth to my goals. So it's kind of like a family tree. So my Y operating system, it's it will be the why of all of those intentions. So my family was an intention that came out of my original Y operating system. I didn't understand it the same way then. However, it is my family is one of those opportunities for me to contribute. So my the center of my why, the most important part of that why, is that who I am is here to contribute. I feel successful and I feel on purpose when I'm contributing to others. And so my family is one expression of that. My business is another expression of that. You know, um, I haven't done a lot of volunteering over the years. However, when I spend time with people, oh, here's an example. I had a friend reach out to me that one of her friends who'd had challenges with having a home finally got accepted into a seniors building and needed to gather things in order for him to furnish and fill his home. So she reached out to me. I get to contribute. I'm poking all my friends. Do you have this? Do you have that? We need this kind of thing. And I get that opportunity to be a contribution, not only to that gentleman, but also to my friend. And I get the opportunity, and this is filling me up, absolutely filling me up, because I'm also looking around and going, I have the best friends. I have the best friends, because all of my friends are coming around me, and I get to experience the contribution as well, right? So that's at the core of who I am. And I do it in different ways. I'm kind of a nut job. I love my nuttiness about myself. And I do things in different ways. I'm kind of a nut. How I get into contributing to others is a little out of the box. I do it differently. You know, I'm building a business to support women, and I don't get the usual coaching certifications. I go out and get something different, right? I do things differently. I always have, I always will. And at the end of the day, what I get to contribute to others are really simple solutions. You may have noticed the simplicity of the compass, right? Very, very simple. It's articulated really easily in a beautiful little compass. So that's what I bring to the table, are these really simple solutions. And so that's my full operating system. That's how I am in the world. And when I look back in the jobs that I've been over the years, where I've been able to be that, and this is before I even understood it, I was happy. Where I've been inside of relationships, the relationships that ended were because I couldn't be all of me in those relationships. I got laid off from a job that I was miserable in because I couldn't be any of me. And I was really happy about being laid off because I wasn't experiencing me, and it wasn't being me. I wasn't caring for me inside of that experience. So that's why it's so important, and why it's such a valuable tool for me to get to know myself in a way that I get to accept myself and I get to understand myself. So in those moments where I'm not feeling all that happy and jazzy about myself, it's because I'm not being me.
Yeah.
And so then the question is as well, how can I bring me into this experience?
I love that. And so that's what you do. You help women who are in that space going, I don't know. I'm feeling stuck. I don't know where to go next, and understand their deeper why. I heard why as the reason behind your purpose. So yeah, and so understanding that really ties it all in to, if you're not living your purpose, like you said, you're not happy if you're not living your purpose. You're happiest when you're walking this earth doing what it is that you were put here to do, your purpose. And in order to start discovering your purpose, that's a crucial step, is to understand that why behind it. And it's not the why am I doing it, it's the what is my why system.
Why am I me? Why
Yeah,
am I
is it
me?
contribution or whatever it is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also want to add on there, a lot of people are going to connect to contribution. A lot of people are going to connect to contribution, and that might not necessarily be their why. And the reason I want to express that is because how you're a contribution, you might be the kind of person like, I got to find the better way to get things done. There's got to be a better way to do this. And by doing you are a contribution, right? So don't get hung up on, well, I'm sure that's me, because it might be that the way your contribution is in a really different way. I also want to, you were talking about purpose, and I wanted to make sure that we had a little conversation about that, because I believe that my purpose is to be me. And I get the opportunity to express myself in a lot of different ways. So one of the ways that I got to be me was inside of my family and being a contribution inside of my family. One of the ways that I get to be me is by going out and helping friends. One of the ways that I get to be me is by doing a really good job of something, right? Like, there's a lot of ways that I get to be me. One of the ways I'm going to get to be me in the future is I'm going to be writing a book. I get to be me inside of that book, right? So that I want, my hope is that people understand that what you do is not necessarily your purpose. How you be, I believe, is more your purpose.
I
Who
love
who
that.
who you be.
I love that, and we're out of time because we could talk about this forever because it's such a fascinating subject to me
Mm-hmm.
because it's the foundation, it's the root of everything. You know, when you fully embrace who you are. So if somebody was going, well, hey Velma, this sounds awesome. How do we connect to you? What do we do to get a hold of you so that we could find out what our why is, or work that heart compass? How do people get a hold of you?
Well, I am out on social media. So Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, you can find me. I'm not on some of the other ones. Those top three, you will find me. And, Velma at compassinterconnect.com. If you want to pop me an email, pop me an
Okay.
email.
We're gonna put that. We're gonna at Compass Interconnect. I am typing, so I can't talk and type at the same time. I can't walk and chew gum at the same time. So did I get that right?
Yep.
Just
Perfect.
want to make sure it's up on the screen. So anybody who's catching the replay, you got that up on the screen. And when we get done here, if you could pop your links in for your Facebook pages and your Instagram, and just pop them all in underneath the video, so anybody who's watching can connect with Velma. I'm telling you, if you have not met Velma, if you have not connected with Velma yet, you need to connect with Velma. I've known Velma now for, I think we're going on 3 or almost 4 years now.
I think 4 years now. Yeah.
Yeah, it might be 4 years. Yeah, it is 4 years now. So and she just continues to absolutely amaze me. And I am still stepping into the kind of shoes that you have built for yourself, building where I'm going with everything that I do and owning it, because it's just so powerful. And you are such a force for good that I just absolutely love these conversations. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I had an absolute blast. Our conversations are always good, even the ones in private.
Yeah. So if anybody's out here catching the replay, put #replay in the comments below, and we will see you next time on Coffee with Regina. Bye for now.